So I'm going to trot us quite fast through all the elements of psychic protection. If there are bits that you need clarification on, there's the book, and there's also dozens of books out there on psychic protection, all of which have got something useful in them. Of course, the one I recommend the most is Guess. Anyway, the strategies I want to go through this evening are strategies that I use myself and have used since my 20s. And the reason I wrote the book only after I'd used the strategies myself, taught them, clarified how best to put them into practice, and then I wrote the book. So it came out of what worked for people. And we start with a really straightforward model. And the model is, I've got a very thick pen, so you should be able to see it at the back. The model is, there's a human being. These are the arms and legs. The human being has a magnetic field, an energy field, and when something comes into the field that's you're not accustomed to, it sends a ripple through it. And that ripple passes through your energy field and through your body and is registered by your neuroendocrine system. And at the moment that you register actually in your body, that's the moment that you start to feel that something's happening. There's something going on in your field, it lands in your body, it's something you don't like, it's something that drains you, it's something that makes you anxious, something you like, you actually feel it in your body. So there's an effect on your neuroendocrine system. So when you look at psychic protection, I think, or I suggest, you look at it in at least three ways. The first way would be, number one, what's going on in your body. Number two, what's going on in your energy field. And number three, what are the bigger lessons? What are the insights? So in terms of what's going on in your body, one of the things I know for certain is that if you are tired or exhausted, feeling sad, depressed, too open, then whatever's going on in your field is going to be experienced more sensitively by your nervous system. So you can have somebody else who's in precisely the same environment as you are, precisely the same vibrations, precisely the same atmosphere, but they're fine. And you're not fine. And one of the reasons for you not being fine is one, possibly you're anyway naturally an empathic and sensitive type. And by that I mean that you were born, just like I was, with a highly strung nervous system. You know, I can't help it. It's just I have a highly strung nervous system. I'm not highly strung in my intelligence. I'm not particularly highly strung in my emotions, but I'm highly strung and sensitive to what's going on in the field around me. And I've had to learn how to manage that. And if I'm exhausted, tired, then whatever's going on in it has quite a startling effect on me. So if I were to say to you, right, so if this were a longer class, and I were to say to you, what can you do to strengthen your nervous system? I'm hoping you're pausing, you're right this moment, you're going, wait a minute, I came here to learn about defenses, psychic defense, but in actual fact what I'm doing in the first place is giving you a foundation, or reminding you that there's a foundation that's to be defended. And if your foundation is weak, then you're not doing anything about the actual challenge or issue that you may be dealing with. So if I say to you, what can you do to strengthen your nervous system? You may respond to me, yoga, meditation, sleep, rest, holidays. What did you say? Alert, being alert. I mean, being more alert might possibly wire you up a bit more. Less coffee, yeah. Drugs that enervate you, bring them down. Going to bed early. If less sugar, yeah, absolutely. For people who are sensitive, Chocolate. Oh, that's going to heartbreak too many people in the room. You're going to have to balance it quite carefully. But do you
supplements and
supplements? Yeah, stuff that will build you up. Yeah, absolutely. Proper vitamins.
herbal stuff or medication or
Proper food.
yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, food would be sitting underneath the herbs and the supplements, wouldn't it? I mean, there are people who are shoving supplements on top of a rubbish diet. You know, so what you do is you have a diet that suits your body. You have a diet that suits your body. You have a sleep rhythm that suits your body. You use recreational drugs. By that I include alcohol, coffee, dope, in a way that's suitable for your body. And if you're a sensitive type and you're finding that you are getting easily overwhelmed by atmospheres, people, vibrations, places, you need to just stop for a moment and be very careful to assess what's going on in your nervous system and the need to strengthen it. There's diet, exercise, all those physical things. There's a second thing that's absolutely obvious, which is, and I know you didn't come here for a lecture about this, but there is a thing to do with lifestyle. You know, if you are in a lifestyle that enervates you, then you need to be careful to guide yourself into a lifestyle in which you're not enervated. For example, I could not work as a psychiatric nurse or doctor in a psychiatric ward. I couldn't do it. I've been in them for an hour and a half, and I know that after an hour, 60 minutes, 120 minutes, my own body starts to feel overstimulated, too sensitive. Does anybody here work in psychiatric care? No. But I have friends who do wonderful work, and they're capable of being in those environments, hour by hour, day by day, year by year, and the place doesn't jangle them. I go in within an hour, I feel jangled. I feel as though I can feel the distress of the patients inside myself, and it's not. I know very well it's not an emotional psychological thing. It's that my field is empathic, sponge-like, and if I don't watch out for it, it's just stuff comes in and I just feel it, which is why I need to be strong. And brackets for those of us in the room who are my age, you know, the last third of life or coming into it. One of the pieces of bad news is that as you get older, your nervous system actually becomes less taut, less vital, and as your nervous system becomes less taut and less vital, you actually become more sensitive. And that's something that younger people can't see, because when you look at older people, they look like, you know, like oak trees or old trees that are withered and strong, and they're not. In actual fact, as you get older, you get more sensitive, and that's a real area of vulnerability for people I know who, you know, starting at about 40, that begins to happen. People become more sensitive. So one of the things I know for certain, for myself, and for my age set and people coming into my age set, is that I need to stay fit. And I don't stay fit in order to stay flexible or live longer. I stay fit because if I don't stay fit, if I don't stay toned, my nervous system is like a sponge absorbing everything. So doing some aerobics, some weights, some gym stuff is crucial for me. Absolutely crucial. And I think that's one of the reasons why you just brackets. You see a lot of psychics who become overweight because they don't start in the first place start to get fit, and the weight in actual fact is a way of developing protection, of making them feel safe in the midst of stuff that's jangling them. Does that make sense? Everything I've just said. It's very, very basic, isn't it? But one of the things I've learned in this field over the last decades is you absolutely need to stay very basic and grounded, or else you can't actually build a proper foundation for doing proper psychic protection. There's a second set of strategies to do with strengthening your nervous system that I think are crucial, and they also affect how you experience things in your field. And they come down to one of the core exercises that is taught in almost every spiritual tradition in one form or another, but it's taught most explicitly in Taoism, in Qigong, which is the exercise of the inner smile, where basically what happens is you pause, and in a caring and loving way, you focus down into your own body. So the same care that you'd give a little child or a bird that was hurt, that same emotional feeling that you have towards something small and vulnerable, that's caring and meticulous because you need to look at the cut to see if anything needs fixing or caring for. That same kind of meticulous care that you might put into embroidery or electronics work. That's very meticulous, careful, relaxed, reassuring. You pause and you send similar messages down into your body. And it's those of you who've done any Qigong will know basic exercises of saying hello to your heart, saying hello to your liver. And in actual fact, what you're doing at a neuroendocrinal level is you're sending messages through your nervous system into your body, and your body, which is an animal. You've got to remember, if you get anxious or frightened or overwhelmed, it's the creature in you, it's the animal in you that's having this experience. And you can be, a lot of people have panic attacks and can witness themselves having the panic attack. There's the body going into panic, or there's my body going into fear, and I'm watching myself do it, but I can't do anything about it because the vehicle, the actual nervous system, the flesh, is doing its own thing. It's a creature. So when you do the inner smile, the creature, the animal, is going, oh look, this kind of parental figure inside me is being kind, and almost immediately the hormones of stress and anxiety, cortisol, adrenaline are inhibited, and oxytocin, endorphin, serotonin come into balance. And at the same time as the oxytocin, endorphin, serotonin come into balance, the breath and heart goes into an integrated rhythm, the acidity of your stomach becomes more alkaline and more harmonious, and good things happen through the whole of your nervous system and tissue. It's a great exercise, the inner smile, and it's reflected in other traditions where you use a grail or a chalice or a cauldron, and you place the grail, the chalice, or the cauldron inside your body, and you are then the witch, magician, the priestess who's putting into this pot good things, but the pot is your body. And similarly, if you're working in another esoteric tradition, like the Kabbalistic tradition, the tree of life is again placed down inside your body, and you're caring for the tree of life that's working through your body, because you don't want to be an angry deity, sending angry messages through your body. Because one of the things that will happen if you are empathic and sensitive and are guilt-tripping yourself is you'll be going, oh God, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I shouldn't be scared. It's wimpish. What have I done to have this happening to me? It's bad karma. I'm a victim. What have I done? It's just all that stuff in your head is sending messages through your nervous system, but also harm yourself, because it just means your body is then going, the mind that's inside my body is telling me off. That's just like my parents telling me off, or those horrible teachers at school telling me off, and therefore I'm becoming more adrenalized, adrenal exhaustion, nervous breakdown, simply made worse by your own internal dialogue. And your own internal dialogue is not a neutral affair. It hurts you. It hurts you. So the actual business of sending care down into yourself, into the cauldron, into the pot, feeding the tree of life that's inside you with good weather, good sunshine, good rain, good warmth. There are many traditions where there's a tree of life. You place the tree of life inside you. Because in terms of psychic protection, if you're a tree, if the tree is strong and rooted and got a good trunk and brilliant foliage, it can have little demons sitting in its branches. It really doesn't matter, And there can be a thunderstorm going on, and it's rooted and it's fine, right? So in all those traditions that work with a tree of life, part of the lesson is, the modern West has sometimes not been so good at teaching tree of life exercises. The core of the tree of life exercises, stick them in your body. Feel it, root it in your body, and then you're the deity, the goddess, the wizard who's in charge of the weather and the soil, and you give it good energy, good attitude. You don't give it scrunched up toad's eyes and puree of batswing and mashed, frightened little children. I'm being funny. Hello? Anybody there? you give it some kind of thing, and it's very, very difficult for people who are not handheld through the process of giving care to the body, because it feels awkward and less than stoic, and some parent may turn up and say, what are you doing? That's just so narcissistic. But it's a fantastic exercise. It also means that if your attitude to your own body, your own self, is kind, it's almost the first exercise in Buddhist meditation, isn't it? You know, compassionate equanimity to the self, loving kindness to self. And at a medical level, loving kindness to the self is sending the appropriate messages for the neuroendocrinal system, so your body comes out of adrenaline, cortisol, into the nice cocktail of endorphin, serotonin, and oxytocin at a certain level. Which is why when Buddhist meditation teachers say, if you don't come out of a meditation feeling better, you're not meditating properly. You know, out of every meditation, you should come out feeling a little bit more reassured, because the creaturehood of your body is getting the right attention. And all of this lays the foundation for the strength at your core that can deal with stuff that's happening in your field. It also means you're developing self-management, so that when you feel stuff that is overwhelming you, there's a mind inside this experience that wakes up and goes, I'm feeling awful. This feels terrible. There's something happening. I don't like it. I don't know what's going on. But at least my mind is still here watching that it's happening, because I've learned that there's my mind, heart, consciousness, and there's this vehicle, and stuff happens in my vehicle. And I need to manage it. And that, in a sense, that's very similar to mindfulness exercises for dealing with panic attacks. You're having the panic attack, yet at the same time you're developing the ability to switch on an aspect of your consciousness that's capable of witnessing it and being with it and guiding yourself into breath and guiding yourself into the appropriate attitude for managing it. So there's basic psychological, physiological stuff sitting at the core of which you're then going to put your protection up. The other huge benefit, which I started to talk about 5 minutes ago and didn't actually finish off, was if you have this kind attitude to yourself, then at a vibrational level, a kind attitude to yourself allows a kind attitude from nature and the cosmos to come through to you. If your personal attitude to yourself is hostile, detached, cold, judgmental, victimized, distanced, alienated, whatever it is, then that's a vibe that you're putting into your body. So the good energies that flow through nature and the earth and the cosmic goddess and the sky and the clouds and the flow of it all, it can't get through to you at an energetic level, because to a degree you're filtering it because you've got this internal attitude. You're saying, I don't like my body does things like this, my nervous system, I get overwhelmed, I'm victimized, I'm spooked, I've got voices, whatever it is that's going on. And that endless ramble, which is very real, it's very real, but it sets up a vibe that blocks the other harmonics coming through. So I'm not saying that stuff is unreal. I'm not saying you should stop it. What I'm saying is we have to find a place in the middle of it where we go, oh yes, I'm running that number, but at the same time, oh, look where I am. I'm on this beautiful planet, in this beautiful cosmos. You know, I'm sitting in the hot tub of the goddess, basically, just. That's my best metaphor for where we want to get to. Is soaking in the hot tub of the goddess. Just. It feels good. I'm still neurotic. I'm still got all my problems, but I'm soaking in, you know. Anyway. So, there we've got basic foundation stuff. Rooted, strong trunk, kind to yourself, setting your nervous system. Isn't it wonderful, isn't it, the way these basic exercises from the mystery traditions do precisely what modern neuroscience, neuroendocrine physiology would ask us to do in order to look after ourselves. It's a precise match. Send messages into your body that are reassuring. Good things. Put in the cauldron what's good. So you've done all that, you're nice and strong. And in my ideal model, if you've slept enough, I'll talk about if I have slept enough, if I'm off any caffeine or stuff that enervates me, if I haven't watched too much telly, haven't spent too much time on the laptop working, if I spend enough time gardening and stretching and doing my yoga and blah, blah, if I've done all that, then I've got a natural vitality. So I'm still an empath, I'm still a bit spongy, I can feel everything that's going on, right? But my vitality is strong enough that I'm like a flame. I just notice it. That's the best model. I'm not showing off. I'm not like mad, a younger yoga man doing, prana, charisma stuff, where they glow and walk around glowing. I'm not doing that. All I'm doing is I'm just being healthy. Deep down healthy for myself and the stuff that's coming into my life that would normally wobble me doesn't bother me. That would be the best model for us. But they don't know. I'm neurotic. I'm not OCD, but I get addicted very easily to coffee and stuff. I can easily come off looking after myself and being healthy. So I have dips in how strong I am. And stuff gets through and into my field. And it gets into my field and comes through into my nervous system and I get jangled by it. So I do need to know, because I am a sensitive empath, a slightly highly strung hysteric, like everybody else in this room, I imagine, or else you would not be here. Are you pleased to be identified as highly strung hysterics? No, probably not. Probably not. No, I'm just here on behalf of my friend. Because people who are not empathic in that way have got no idea what we experience. No idea at all. I remember the age of 4 or 5. My dad was a Harley Street psychiatrist, posh psychiatrist, and he thought he was intuitive and sensitive. But at the age of 4 or 5, someone could walk through the front door of our flat, and I just knew immediately what kind of person they were. Just immediate. I can go into a party or a room and just tell immediately what's going on, or into a forest. Everybody in this room, to one degree or another, can do that. But people who haven't got that level of empathy, or only experience it occasionally, don't understand what's going on for many of us. And sometimes I think that the arguments about what's real and not real is based on the fact that there's a huge amount of human beings who are sensitive and empathic, and a huge amount of human beings who are less so. And they can't dialogue with each other properly because they're having completely different experiences. But that's another topic. I think the bad science versus healing is probably divided because of that experience. Okay, so the next bit is easy. The next bit is easy. What you're looking for is, and people used to say to me about psychic protection, I'm supposed to be experiencing everything. Or people who were never weak, always said, aren't you supposed to experience everything? What are you doing putting yourself in a bubble of protection, right? And for a while I was a little bit intimidated by that criticism. I thought, I'm supposed to be experiencing everything. And then, quickly I came to the realization, it's very simple, when it's raining, you put a raincoat on. If it's pissing down, you put up your umbrella. And for people who are sensitive, if it's raining vibes, you put on a bubble. And if you're not vibrant enough or vital enough to deal with it, you just put on some protection. You just do what you need to do. So I think basic psychic protection exercises are really, really useful. And essentially all you're doing, isn't it, is you're putting up a field around yourself that keeps out the vibes you don't like. Make it smaller. There you are in the middle. Here's your field. Here's a vibration that you don't like, let's put up a field around yourself so that that can't get through, it bounces off. It's basically what's going on. From a psychological perspective, even if this were a load of rubbish, psychologically it's a good frame, a good story to tell oneself. I can put myself in a bubble, an egg, and protect myself from stuff. It's a good story to tell oneself, even if it weren't true. I think this stuff is completely 100% true, but I'm just saying, a psychologist, a mainstream psychologist would go, well, the energy stuff, yeah, no, but the actual story it's telling the person is quite useful. It's like a placebo effect. It will work to look after the person. So I found over the decades of teaching this stuff that there are more techniques and visualizations for creating the bubble than I can list this evening. Originally, when I was first stimulated into this area because I was feeling vulnerable and read Dion Fortune's Psychic Self-Defense, which was a classic in the field. And I wrote Psychic Protection as a building on what she wrote, and I'm very grateful to her for that first piece of work. And she used to live in Glastonbury. So when I first started teaching this stuff, I was going, put yourself in an egg, put yourself in a bubble, decorate the bubble with symbols that work for you, all that kind of stuff. And I found, listening to people from different traditions, there are dozens of different visualizations for how best to create the bubble of protection. Now, there's one thing I know that needs to be done to make all of them effective. What needs to be done for all the bubbles to be effective is that you must, in the first place, be earthed, grounded down into your body. And then you build your protection from that place. And when I talk about earthed and grounded, again, this is something I don't think has been taught very well in the West in the last 50 years. When you're talking about being earthed and grounded, I'm not talking about purely rooting yourself down into Gaia. I'm talking about if you were ground controlled to Major Tom, you're out there somewhere. There's no earth. You're floating in space. Then you yourself are the object within which you need to be earthed and grounded. You can't have your safety and sense of security connected to one artifact, the earth, because you might not be on the earth. So the actual grounding and earthing is a sensation of being contained and sunk down into yourself. And at its essence, there's a sense of this area of the body from your chest down to your hips, being allowed to relax and sink down. And in martial arts, it's being in that space. It's called being in hara. Some of you may do martial arts. It's having your lower dantian down there. But I think in the traditions that are taught in Glastonbury, possibly for a lot of us, one of the best ways of getting to it is if Goddess in the earth comes up into the womb, and you just give way to it. That takes you into a sensation, a body sensation, a kinesthetic feeling. That is what is meant by being grounded. It's the connecting with the goddess is not it. It's the sensation that you feel in your body with that womb-like dropping down into yourself. And one can go into that same sensation through being a tree with roots. You can go into that same sensation. So if I did a long guided meditation exercise, in which we drop down into our body and then we try on a dozen different types of bubble to see which one works best for you, because the one that works best for you will be the one that matches the kind of mystical tradition within which you're most comfortable. So for example, some people find that huge safety being surrounded by angels. Michael before me, Gabriel behind me, Uriel to my left. You know, there'd be that kind of an angelic protection. You know, there are other people who would call on Christ and be enfolded by Christ and feel that safety. And again, they're dropping down into themselves and are enfolded by Christ. Others are working with Kuan Yin or Mary or more shamanic stuff or Sufi strategies. You know, and in terms of the visualizations, they can not come out of those traditions, but people you can work with. I mean, when I do the exercise, I usually go, you're in a bubble. The bubble transforms into, the first one I do is to transform into an animal. So you actually, you've become that animal. You know, it's a bit like your totem. You become into your totem. How does that feel? Does that work for you? Then, no, it doesn't work for you. How about try being a tree? So your trees, how does that work for you? No, it doesn't work for you. How about going from the tree to a cloak? And then from a cloak to a pyramid, and from a pyramid to a column of light, and from a column of light to, there's dozens of these. You imagine people in the room use these exercises and you have your own way of setting up your protection. Right? But in all those different ways of doing it, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure this is right, you know, at the center of it when they're working, you're grounded into yourself. Feel safe. And that's the foundation of which you build the bubble. And you have to rehearse it. In my experience, I do not know anybody who's empathic and sensitive who can go into a pub or a school governor's meeting or, you know, a riot zone or wherever it's harsh, or family Christmas. Right? You know, whether it's harsh. I don't know anybody still recovering from Christmas. You're one person who took me 4 weeks before I staggered out of the impact of family Christmas, God. Anyway, that will be edited out of the film. Where was I? I've taken myself off-piste with the rehearsal. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know anybody who can just switch it on when they're in the situation that's jangling them. So, for example, when I know I'm going into Christmas, or I'm going into a meeting where I get jangled, I start rehearsing it months in advance. And when I mean talking about rehearsing, what I mean is I have a daily meditation practice. If you don't have a daily meditation practice, do it while you're toddling around, or switch off the telly for a few minutes, or lying in bed. You know, I sit there and I just take my awareness into, oh, I'm going to be in this situation with these people. I'm in my bubble. I'm protected. I think, as well as being grounded, I think a core technique that I didn't put in my book originally, but I'm absolutely certain is appropriate, is that when you're sunk into your body, building the space around you, you do very soft breath and allow your space around you to fill with the warmth of your breath. So the space, immediate space all around you is filled with the essence of your own breath. So as you gently breathe out the warm, moist breath, you direct it around you, and so that your body, your creature, is inside a bubble that's filled with something very familiar. And I find that crucial for people, again, and then they can do it they can use whatever tradition they like to build up the bubble, the protection. But it does need to be rehearsed. I think I think if anybody in this room is often sensitive in particular situations, then you need to be doing this, sinking down into your body, care for your body, build your bubble of protection up. You need to be doing it several times a day after day after day for months, so that it becomes a lifestyle, and so that your nervous system, the creature that is your body, the temple into which you're incarnate, the vehicle, genuinely gets it. If you really, really want to look after yourself. And for me, that's one of the silver linings of being empathically sensitive, is we are continually being nagged to get on with self-development. That's the silver lining of it. If you're not empathic and sensitive, you don't experience these almost minute by minute nudges. Oh, stuff going on. Manage, self-develop. Manage, self-develop. Because if you're just wooden and not feeling that stuff, you can just get on. So I think there's a huge silver lining there. And in the Alice Bailey books, which some of you may know, I think they're fantastic occult, esoteric books. There's one point that the Tibetan teacher who wrote them through Alice Bailey says that the very last fetter, the very last hindrance that somebody on the path experiences before ascending or integrating or liberating, whatever word you want to use, the very last one is occult irritability. Irritation is the very last thing that you work on before you integrate, because by the time you're getting to the point of opening up fully and into complete sense of unity, you've become so open and so sensitive that you're feeling everything, and every single bit and piece of your karma that's left inside your vehicle is being stimulated. It's interesting, isn't it? So those of you who are highly irritable, step forward and be my guru. No, not. It's a redemptive insight, that, though, for those of us who are sensitive, because it's going to get worse. It's got to get worse, because as we open more fully to the universe and integrating and unifying with it, everything that's there is going to be stimulated and touched. It's going to be raw at some point. So, bubbles, earthed, filled with your own breath, using a form that works for you. Yep. So then, supposing they don't work, stuff that's out there is still coming, and you need to then switch on something more dynamic. The moment that you're switching on something more dynamic, you're using other exercises, and you're using exercises that are more dynamic. So they would include basically anything that points a positive energy at the intrusion. So there's the thing that you don't like, it's got through to you, then using whatever words, symbols, vibrations that are appropriate for you and your culture, the type of person you are, you then direct them to the thing that's causing you the wobble, and you send them good energy. Good energy. So when I was first taught this in my 20s, I was taught it as a Buddhist practice. And as a Buddhist practice, it was not in real life, but with, there you are. You imagine that whatever it is that's creating the disturbance there with you, and you bow to it, and you use a little mudra like this maybe, and you just go, thank you for the lesson. I love you, 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 I love you. 10 minutes. Just keep it rolling, keep it rolling, keep it rolling, keep it rolling, keep it rolling. At a psychological level, whatever story you've got about what that thing out there is doing to you, you're rewiring yourself. At an energetic level, whatever is receiving that is either going to go, ee! Or it's going to go, ooh, lovely. Yeah. But the thing is, it's the 10 minutes consistency. And people say to me, how can I do that if I don't really feel it? And the answer is you fake it until you make it. It's like most ritual. You run it until it becomes real. It's authentic. And if you run it, you have to run it for about 60 seconds, it will get into a groove, into a groove of feeling real. A goddess tradition language might be more to thank you for the lesson, O Mother of the world, Goddess of all that is, please hold this being in your warm embrace. Nurture this person with all the love and comfort and affection that you can give. Hold them, and again with that kind of more soft, graceful flow. But it doesn't. Things you want to find whatever tradition you're comfortable in, you find a way of directing positive energy to the person. Does that make sense? Yeah. And do it very strong though. But it needs to be strong and consistent, and done several times a day. If you're going to, and there are strategies also in there that you might want to put in there, like cutting the ties that bind, which I won't go into here, but are worth looking at. So look, and whoa, I forgot to say it. And while you're doing the I love you, I love you, I love you, you also go to the universe, to Goddess, God, whatever you connect with. Help! You're a bit humble about it, right? Because here's an occult fact, which I've been putting in talks recently for people here who don't remember it, is if you're actually meeting a very negative energy, like the kind of energy that feeds through Nazis, the Nazi movement, or the kind of energy that feeds into the killing fields. It's a big, big, nasty field, right? One single human being hasn't got the energy to deal with that. So if you're going to deal with it, you need to be connected to whatever it is that gets you connected to the love of the universe. In my case, I find that I seem to sink back into kind of Christian roots. And I'm very happy with Jesus and Christ, cosmic Christ. Other people sink into the Goddess, other people sink into the Bodhisattva Buddhas, other people sink into the Great Spirit. But there needs to be a surrender and a yielding to that connection with that bigger benevolent energy in order to deal with something that's really shit. Because you don't have it, it would be prideful, unrealistic, arrogant to think that you could deal with this negative energy on your own. So you have to surrender and yield so that you become a channel for the other vibes to come in. So, if that doesn't work, what is going on? If none of that works, you're rooted, you're grounded, you're kind to yourself, you're connected with spirit, you've called in help, you've set up your protection, you've looked after your nervous system, you've loved them, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. You've even said it's my lesson, thank you so much, I love you, I love you, I love you. If it still doesn't work, you're now going into another zone completely, which is a quantum leap out of psychic protection into another dimension which you must know about, and you all will know about, but you may not have connected it to psychic protection. And that is, if it is still happening to you, obviously, this is from an occult point of view, somehow or another you are connected with this thing you don't like. You have a connection with it. Don't know what that connection is, why it's there, where it came from, but it's quite often it's as basic as, I've so many times I've counselled people who've just come out of terrible marriages or partnerships, terrible marriages or partnerships, and they feel, it may be true, that the other person is sending them bad energy, and they've done all the stuff, and they can still feel the bad energy coming through to them, right? And I say to this person, how many years did you have sex with him, her? And they go, 10, 8, 7, 1 year. Right? So you were in bed mingling energies and juices for 10 years, right? And then you come out of the relationship and you think you can just cut yourself off. It's not realistic, is it? Hello? It's simply not realistic. There's going to be a decompression period. And at one level, you're always going to be connected to that person. I have a first wife. We separated. We were together from 16, when I was 16 to when I was late 20s. And energetically, so that's a long time ago. But energetically, there's still something there. There has to be. We were together for all those years, sleeping together. There's bound to be a connection. And you can't suddenly go snip, 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 because at one level, that woman is homeopathically inside me. There's a fragment of her in me, just as there's a fragment of me in her. And at one level, if we're looking to a spiritual path where we end up in total connection with everything, you can't suddenly say, well, I'm going to be in total connection with everything except my ex-husband. You can't suddenly break the rules like that, right? It's startling, isn't it? I mean, that's the one thing when psychologists or realists, they think they are, look at the spiritual path and go, oh, you're so flaky. And I go, if you would actually look slightly deeper at the responsibility we take for what goes on in our lives, you will be surprised at the level of ownership and maturity. Just astonished, because, Anyway. So, at which point, there's a whole other set of strategies come in, that not to do with your ex-partner, but to do with, if it's still getting through to you, you have a connection. And at one deep level, there's something jangling in the connection that you had with that piece of history, and you're left with no alternative except to do some deep reframing energy work on this connection, and it's got to basically take you in the direction of apology and forgiveness and responsibility. And this is horrible. That you've gone from, there's something I don't like on the edge of my field. I'm not, go away, blah, 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 blah. I love you, fuck off, just all the rest of it. And none of that works. And then you go, oh, bloody hell, it's still there, because in some way or another it belongs to me. Mm-hmm. And what's to do with it? And and the bottom line strategy that I find works, that you will have heard of and probably practice already, some of you, is forgiveness and apology. It's just a kind of turning of the cheek. It's a kind of Aikido movement where you just yield to it completely. You just let it happen to you. And you go, yes, I don't know how or why, but as it's in my consciousness here and now, and I am a mature adult on the path of spiritual and personal development, I have no choice but to take responsibility for it. Therefore, in this moment, existentially, just because I'm the one who's conscious, I take responsibility for it. I am responsible for it. I am responsible for this piece of shit. I don't know what it is, where it comes from, or how it is I'm responsible, but the mere fact that I'm a mature, self-aware person on the spiritual path, it's me that takes responsibility. Who else? It's me that takes responsibility. And that's expressed to deity, to Goddess, to God, to the world. I'm responsible for this. I'm so sorry, forgive me. Not to the individual, but to the cosmos. I in some way, I'm implicated in creating this congestion in the flow. I'm implicated in creating this piece of friction that stops love dancing through life. And all I can do is go, I'm sorry. And that arsehole over there can't take responsibility because that person is not in the right place to. I'm the one inside the family. I'm the one inside this constellation. I'm the one inside of this clan network. I'm the one inside this stream of ancestors who's woken up and can take responsibility. Therefore, on behalf of everybody, I say, I'm responsible. Ho'oponopono, that prayer, I'm responsible. No shame, no guilt. I'm responsible. I take responsibility. I'm sorry, forgive me. There's only love. Thank you. Bloody New Agers have managed to drop the first 2 or 3 sentences in some versions of the forgiveness prayer, and they've gone straight through to there's only love. There's only love, thank you for the lesson. But sometimes they drop the thank you for the lesson, right? The core of this practice is I take responsibility. But without any guilt or shame, it's occult adulthood. It's esoteric maturity. Why else am I experiencing it if it weren't mine. It's tough. And if you're not ready for that, don't do it. Bless you, don't do it. And it's tough if you've got mental health problems, because there's a whole lot of other stuff going on in and around you, and you need some really good friends to talk this out with. Really good friends to talk this out with, so you don't get deluded and push down the wrong path, or push yourself down the wrong path. But if you do that, yeah, it's my responsibility. I'm sorry, forgive me. And anthropologically, like that particular teaching, though it's deeply Christian and deeply Buddhist, it's deeply Christian, it's Christ on the cross, yielding for everyone. I don't know, and that's, as a mystic Christian, that's the beauty of the symbol that so many people in Glastonbury don't like, the man on the cross. But as a mystic Christian, the man on the cross has turned his cheek to receive that, take responsibility. Something very beautiful in there. And the Bodhisattva Buddhas do the same. And the Black Madonna and Green Tara, there's the same receptivity to the suffering on behalf of. It's inspiring if your nervous system is strong enough to deal with it. If your psychology is strong enough to deal with it. If your nervous system and psychology is not strong enough to deal with that, don't do that. Don't do that. It's very beautiful. It's very beautiful. So, that's a spectrum, isn't it? From, don't forget to go to bed early, because that was just where we started an hour ago, wasn't it? Don't forget to go to bed early so your nervous system feels strong enough to deal with life, right? We've gone from there through creating bubbles, through to meeting Nazis, through to ex-husbands, even worse than Nazis, through to Ho'oponopono, the prayer of forgiveness. So, can we take 30 seconds quiet just so I can see where I'm at in terms of what we're talking about?